What was meant to be a sweet fourth birthday celebration for little Lilibet just became the moment Harry and Meghan's carefully crafted public image completely imploded. We're talking about a PR disaster so catastrophic that even their most loyal defenders couldn't spin it. And it all went down at the happiest place on earth, Disneyland. Picture this: June 2025, California sunshine, and what should have been a private family moment. Instead, we got a masterclass in manufactured authenticity that was so poorly executed, it left the entire world asking one simple question. Do these two think we're actually this stupid? The whole thing started innocently enough. Lilibet's turning 4, and like any normal family, Harry and Meghan decide to take the kids to Disneyland. Sounds wholesome, right? Except nothing about this trip was normal, and nothing about it was private. Within hours of stepping foot in the park, perfectly angled shots were splashed across every major outlet. But here's where it gets interesting, and by interesting, I mean absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about location choice for a second. You've got two people who've spent the last 5 years building their entire brand around wanting privacy, desperately fleeing the invasive British press, and suing anyone with a camera. So, naturally, when they want a quiet family day, where do they go? Disneyland. Not a private estate, not a secluded beach, not even a low-key local park. They chose literally the most photographed, most tourist-packed, most paparazzi-infested location in all of Southern California. It's like saying you want to avoid crowds and then setting up camp in Times Square on New Year's Eve. The logic doesn't just fail, it completely contradicts everything they've claimed to stand for. But wait, it gets worse. Sources inside the park confirmed that their entourage wasn't trying to stay hidden. Security wasn't creating barriers, photographers weren't being asked to step back. If anything, certain areas seemed unusually accessible to cameras, right when the Sussex family happened to walk by. The shots that emerged weren't candid moments captured by sneaky paparazzi. These were carefully framed, perfectly lit, strategically angled photos that looked more like a Netflix promotional shoot than a spontaneous family outing. And then came the detail that made everyone's BS detector go off. Archie and Lilibet's faces were blurred in every single image. The blurred face hypocrisy that broke the internet. This is where the whole charade fell apart. You can't stage a photo opportunity and then pretend you're protecting your children's privacy by blurring their faces after the fact. It's like robbing a bank while wearing a ski mask and then claiming you weren't trying to commit a crime because no one could see your face. The internet wasn't having it. Social media exploded, with people calling out the obvious contradiction. If you really wanted to protect your kids' privacy, you wouldn't parade them through one of the busiest tourist destinations on the planet. If you really wanted a private family moment, you wouldn't time it perfectly for maximum media coverage. But the person who really cut through the nonsense was Piers Morgan. Without even mentioning Harry and Meghan by name, he posted about celebrities who exploit their children for publicity while simultaneously lecturing everyone else about privacy. The post went viral instantly because everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Morgan didn't just call out the hypocrisy, he dissected it. Here's a couple that's made millions selling their family's private stories through books, documentaries, and interviews, all while suing media outlets for invasion of privacy. The contradiction isn't just obvious, it's insulting to anyone with basic reasoning skills, and people are finally starting to see it for what it really is. When the palace had enough. But the real drama was happening behind closed doors at Buckingham Palace. Royal insiders are saying King Charles was absolutely livid about the whole thing. And it wasn't just the obvious staging or the media circus. It was the timing and the name exploitation that really pushed him over the edge. The Disneyland trip happened just days before Trooping the Color, one of the most important events on the royal calendar. Coincidence? Royal sources don't think so. They're calling it a deliberate distraction designed to steal spotlight from the monarchy during a significant celebration. But using Lilibet's name, a name deeply tied to Queen Elizabeth II's legacy, as bait for a theme park photo op, that crossed a line that even the patient King Charles couldn't ignore. Palace staffers are describing his reaction as a mix of deep embarrassment and quiet fury. This wasn't just another PR misstep. It was using his mother's memory as a marketing tool. The fact that Harry and Meghan never actually got permission to use the name Lilibet, despite their claims otherwise, makes the whole situation even more problematic. Word from royal courtiers suggests this incident has pushed discussions about stripping the Sussex children of their titles, from whispered conversations to serious consideration. It's not about punishing kids for their parents' decisions. It's about protecting the monarchy from being turned into content for streaming platforms and podcast promos. The legal threats that reveal everything. Here's where things get really telling about Harry and Meghan's strategy. Instead of addressing the legitimate criticisms about their contradictory behavior, they're reportedly threatening legal action against Piers Morgan for his comments. Sound familiar? It's the exact same playbook they used before. When criticism gets too accurate, try to silence it through legal intimidation. This isn't Morgan's first rodeo with the Sussex legal team. Meghan previously tried to get him silenced when he refused to blindly accept her Oprah interview claims, which led to his dramatic exit from Good Morning Britain. But Morgan has never been one to back down from bullies, and he's got a much bigger platform now. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Every time someone points out the obvious contradictions in their behavior, out come the lawyers. Every time their projects fail or controversy erupts, suddenly there's a new privacy lawsuit or legal threat. It's emotional blackmail wrapped in victimhood, and Morgan is calling it out for exactly what it is. But here's what makes this different. Morgan survived their previous pressure campaigns, and now he's got receipts. He's documented their contradictions, their selective transparency, and their habit of using legal threats to avoid accountability. His commentary is gaining traction because it's not just harsh, it's accurate. When everything falls apart, out come the kids. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, Meghan's latest ventures are quietly collapsing. Her podcast, Archetypes, ended after one season. Her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, has generated more mockery than sales, and her attempts at Hollywood relevance keep falling flat. The numbers don't lie. Audiences aren't buying what she's selling anymore. That's when the pattern becomes crystal clear. Every time a project fails, every time the spotlight dims, every time public opinion turns negative, suddenly there's a new set of carefully curated family photos. It's like clockwork. Business venture flops, time for a heartwarming parenting moment. Legal controversy heats up? Quick, get some shots of Harry being a devoted dad. The Disneyland trip fits this pattern perfectly. American Riviera Orchard was getting roasted online. Her podcast numbers were embarrassing, and public sentiment was turning increasingly skeptical. So, what better way to reset the narrative than a wholesome Disney day with the kids? Except this time, the strategy backfired spectacularly. Instead of softening their image, it highlighted exactly how calculated their every move has become. People aren't just seeing through the performance anymore, they're resenting it. The use of children as PR props while simultaneously claiming to protect their privacy isn't just hypocritical, it's manipulative. Prince William's breaking point. The fallout from the Disneyland disaster has reportedly pushed Prince William past his breaking point. Royal sources say he's done playing diplomatic games with Harry and Meghan's antics. The constant blindsides, the performative victimhood, the monetization of family trauma, it's all reached a point where even the future king is ready to take action. William has allegedly been leading internal discussions about finally cutting ties with the Sussex brand completely. The calls to strip them of their remaining titles aren't just tabloid chatter anymore. They're serious conversations happening at the highest levels of the monarchy. Senior royals who were once hesitant to escalate tensions are now considering legal and institutional ways to protect the crown from further exploitation. The transformation of how William views his brother is reportedly complete. Sources close to the Prince of Wales say he no longer sees Harry as a lost family member who might return to the fold. Instead, he views him as someone who chose to weaponize their shared trauma for personal gain, and who continues to damage the institution their grandmother devoted her life to protecting. This shift in William's perspective represents something much larger than family drama. It signals that the monarchy is finally ready to prioritize its survival over family sentiment. The Disneyland episode might just be the incident that forces the royal family to stop playing nice and start playing strategic. The audience has left the building. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of the Disneyland disaster isn't the royal fury or the media criticism. It's the public's complete loss of interest in Harry and Meghan's victim narrative. What used to generate sympathy now generates eye rolls. What used to spark outrage now sparks boredom. The carefully choreographed drama has lost its punch because people have seen this show too many times. The pattern is too obvious, the contradictions too blatant, and the manipulation too transparent. Even major outlets that once ran their stories with breathless sympathy are now covering them with skeptical distance. TMZ, Entertainment Tonight, and even typically Sussex-friendly publications ran the Disneyland photos with commentary that ranged from skeptical to openly critical. The "we just want to be left alone" narrative couldn't survive contact with the obvious staging, the perfect lighting, and the conveniently timed, candid moments. The public has moved on from being entertained by their drama to being exhausted by their contradictions. They've watched too many of these stunts crash and burn, seen too many projects fail, and heard too many victim stories that don't add up. The audience that once hung on their every word is now changing the channel. The final act of a failed strategy. As we look at the wreckage of what was supposed to be a simple birthday celebration, one question dominates every conversation about Harry and Meghan. If they really wanted privacy and independence, why does every move look like it was scripted by a reality TV producer? The answer seems increasingly clear, because that's exactly what it is. This isn't about healing family relationships or building a meaningful life outside the royal institution. This is about maintaining relevance in an attention economy that's already moved on to the next story. The Disneyland disaster might be remembered as the moment their carefully constructed image finally collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. You can't sue people for invasion of privacy while staging photo ops. You can't lecture about media ethics while feeding stories to friendly outlets. You can't claim to want normalcy while turning every family moment into content. The tragedy isn't that Harry and Meghan left the royal family. It's that they've turned their departure into a never-ending performance that's fooling fewer people every day. And now, with the palace finally ready to call their bluff, and the public finally tired of their act, they're discovering what happens when the applause stops and the audience walks away. The birthday that was supposed to soften their image instead shattered their credibility. And in a world where authenticity is the only currency that matters, that's a bankruptcy they might never recover from.
Meghan Markle posted a bizarre video on her social media yesterday, which sent several people into absolute meltdown. It is the cringiest, most uncomfortable piece of tape I've seen in a long time. I'm sorry, but I'm going to make you watch it. SOT 24.
1 month, 2 months, 3 months, hit the baby mama when I step into the door.
She's
Yeah, I'm pregnant,
supposedly 9 months pregnant in the hospital room, dancing with a big belly. Harry's there too. She's kind of twerking. She's gonna twerk. Here comes Harry. She spreads her legs. She hikes her dress. She circles her genitals around and around. Okay. This is deeply problematic on a number of levels.